So yesterday, we just talked about this part of the quadratic formula. It had a name, started with a D. Say it if you know it. Discriminant. All right. And there's three cases. Either it's positive, in which case there would be two answers to this because of the plus and minus. Or it could be negative, in which case there would be zero answers. If that's negative, there's no real answers. And then the only other case, it's either positive or negative, or what else could it be? Zero. And if it's zero, then how many answers are there? One. Because if this whole thing is zero, think about it. You're adding zero and subtracting zero. That's the same thing. So you're only going to have one answer, and it will be the other part of the quadratic formula. Because if the zero will cancel this all out, it'll just be that negative b over 2a thing left, which is that's the vertex formula. You got to get this one down, guys. Negative b over 2a is the vertex formula. And granted, it's only the x of the vertex, but it's a really important formula, and everybody forgets it. Everybody knows the whole quadratic formula because of that dumb little song, which is amazing at making you remember it. But you need to know negative b over 2a. Just associate that with vertex or axis of symmetry, or the axis of symmetry. All right. So when do you use it? When you have a quadratic. But I want to warn you, there's more than one kind of quadratic. This is a quadratic too. And I know you're thinking, well, can't I just square root it? Yes. But wouldn't it also work in the quadratic formula? Yes. As long as you set it equal to what? Zero. You have to set it equal to zero. Everybody try this one with the quadratic formula. I think you know that the answers are supposed to come out to 4 and negative 4. That's not the point. I'm showing you, what do you do when you have a weird quadratic? What's weird about this one mostly is it doesn't have a b term. Or think of it this way. B is equal to what? B is equal to 0. So go ahead and do the quadratic formula on this guy. X equals negative b. Wait a minute, there is no b, so it's negative 0. So it's just 0. So it's not even there. Plus and minus square root of b squared. Well, that's 0 squared. Minus 4ac, 4 times 1 times 16. Oh, negative 16, my bad. All over 2a, which is 2 times 1, which is 2. Plus and minus the square root of 64 all over 2. Takes a while to get to those final answers of 4 and negative 4 that we know are eventually going to happen. Thank you. But plus and minus 8 over 2. Ooh, I know what 8 over 2 is. Plus and minus 4. There's my answers. Okay, and what are they? They're the x-intercepts. If I were to graph the original, or even the original, you'd end up with 4 and negative 4. So if I was to make a picture, let's do the one that's set equal to 0. That's just going to be a parabola. It touches at 4 and negative 4. And some of you might be like, but wait a minute. This is the original. Well, then graph y equals x squared and y equals 16. And let me show you something. Y equals x squared is a line that runs like this. And then y equals 16 is a line that runs like this. Do you get if I move this whole thing down 16? That's what you're doing when you subtract 16 from both sides. If you move everything down 16, do you get it to look like that? That's what's happening when you look at this graph, which is this parabola intersected with the other thing, is it just moves everything down 16, and you end up with the line is right on top of the x-axis, and the two answers are still 4 and negative 4. Okay, good enough on that. What's another weird parabola? Let me show you another weird parabola. X squared plus 4x. It's still a parabola. Doesn't it feel like it's missing something? Well, you could, if you wanted to, say plus 0, couldn't you? And then you got your a, b, and your c. Always set them equal to 0, though. If there's one theme for the day, make sure you set it equal to 0. And then you can easily tell what a, b, and c are. All right, moving on to another slide. I know we've practiced these so many times, this is almost insulting, so I'm not going to ask you to do any of these. We've done this so many times. I'm going to do it real quick just for the people at home that might not know how to do this. This is root 9, root 3 over 9. Negative 6 plus and minus 3 root 3 over 9. And then I would know that you know to factor the top. Add negative 3 comes out. And then I'd have 2 plus and minus root 3 all over 9, which is really 3 times 3. And then the 3's will cancel. And these are long, but we've done them so many times now because of the top 20 that you should be able to do that. Okay, now there's still a negative here. You could put it on this too. You could even put a negative here, but that's going to look really crazy. Plus, minus, minus. We never do that because plus and minus have got them both covered. Another negative doesn't change anything. All right. Okay, so let's move on to the next page. I suppose we should just do 1. There you go. Solve that using the quadratic formula. I'll pause for a second while you give that a try. Okay, so x equals negative b, which is negative 9, plus and minus the square root of b squared, which is 81, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c is 10, all over 2a. 2 times 1 is 2. So then we have x equals negative 9 plus and minus the square root of 81 minus 40, which would be 41. Doesn't feel right. Something's wrong. What am I doing wrong? Is that right? Mm-hmm. Okay. All over 2. Oh, I know. I was thinking that this one would factor and therefore have easy answers. This one would not factor. And so, yeah, this does not have easy answers. Okay. I was expecting this to take a lot longer. I apologize for giving you so much time. All right. And I don't think the square root of 41 breaks up. You know 2 doesn't go into it because it's not even. Do you guys know how to tell if 3 goes into it? Or 4? Okay, here's how you can tell. If 3 goes into something, you add up the digits, and if 3 goes into that, then 3 goes into it. So what if I add up these digits? 4 plus 1 makes 5. Does 3 go into 5? No. Let me give you an example. Let's say I had 420. Does 3 go into it? Yeah, because add up the digits, it adds up to 6, and 3 goes into 6. So 3 goes into 420. 127. Does 3 go into it? Well, add up the digits. 7, 8, 9, 10. Does 3 go into 10? No. So what if I put on 2 more by doing that? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 adds up to 11. Not enough. But what if I put a 3 there? 327. That adds up to 12 then. This plus this plus this. And then 3 goes into it. You see how you can tell? All right. Why do you really care about 3? You really don't. What you should care about is, does 9 go into something? If 3 goes into something twice, then 9 goes into it. I'll give you an example. Would you agree that if I take 27, we know 9 goes into it, right? But does 3 go into it? Yeah. 3 times 9. Then, does 3 go into it again after I took out the first 3? Yeah, 3 goes into it again. I'll give you another example. I can do that with 4s also. Okay, so I know you know that 44, 2 goes into 44. You all know that. You probably all know that 4 goes into 44 also, because it's a pretty obvious one. But what you do to tell if 4 goes into something is first you divide it by 2, and then you divide it by 2 again. If it'll divide by 2 twice, then 4 goes into it. See what I'm saying? Same thing with 6. If 2 goes into it and 3 goes into it, then 6 goes into it. Okay, those are just some quick little rules that you might not have ever learned. So, final test on that. 129. Does 3 go into that? Yep, because they added the digits quick. Does 4 go into it? No, because 2 would have to go into it twice. Does 2 even go into it once? No. Does 5 go into it?
No.
You guys all know that rule. It ends with 5 or 0, right? Everybody knows that one. Okay. How about 6? Does 6 go into it? No, because 2 and 3 would have to go into it, and 2 doesn't go into it. So 6 can't go into it. All right. Just little number hacks to make your life a little better. Okay, so let's move on. What did I say was the number one thing for the hour? Make sure you set them equal to 0. So I'd start by adding 4x to both sides. Then you can use the quadratic formula. But don't forget, if your goal is to solve it, if you can factor it, you should, because it's so much faster. This quadratic formula is kind of slow. All right. So then x equals negative 4 plus or minus the square root of 16 minus 4 times 1 times 2 all over 2. So it doesn't take that long once you're kind of in the flow of it. So this would be negative 4 plus and minus the square root of 16 minus 8, which is 8, all over 2. And then I'd have to simplify a little further. Negative 4 plus and minus 2 root 2, because this is really root 4 and root 2, all over 2. Then I should factor that top part. 2 comes out. Even better, a negative 2 comes out. I don't know if it's better because there's not a negative on the bottom. You could either take out negative 2 or 2. I'll just take out a regular 2 this time. And then negative 2 is left, plus and minus root 2, all over 2. 2's cancel. There's your answer. Now, we've been doing this for a while. That doesn't mean everybody had it down going into today, but now you need to have it down because the test will have it on there. And if you can't do it on the test now, it's not just a top 20 problem that's going to bother you. It's an actual test question on the test that could cost you a grade drop from an A to a B because you couldn't do one of the R3s. Okay, so you got to know how to simplify these things. All right. Just tell me what the first step would be. Set it equal to 0. Very good. After that, use the quadratic formula. How about now? Ooh, it is 0. What's weird about it? What's its b equal to? 0. Good. All right. How about now? Well, this one's the answer, and they want to know what the question was. You remember this from yesterday? So remember how that's 2a? I'm going to set up little equations. 2a equals 4. Do you think you could solve that? Ooh, that's a rough one. How about negative b is equal to 7? Do you think you could solve that one? That's not too bad. And how about the last one? B squared minus 4ac is equal to 65. Think you could solve that? Well, since I know that a is 2 and b is negative 7, yeah, I could stick those into this equation and solve it. I hope I'm not going too fast. I feel like I'm not. This is review. Did it yesterday. Just to finish it for those at home that might not have done this yesterday. B squared minus 4ac means negative 7 squared minus 4 times a, which is 2, times c, which is c. And then I get 65 equals 49 minus 8c. Subtract 49. Equals negative 8c. Divide by negative 8. Divide by negative 8. I think it's c equals negative 2. Can anybody verify that? All right, awesome. So we know a, b, and c now. Is that the answer? Well, actually, you got to write the equation. Y equals, and then a was 2. B was negative 7. So I shouldn't say plus negative 7. That's going to be kind of clunky. I'll just say minus 7x. And then c was negative 2, minus 2. There's the equation I built. All right. Homework. I have looked through it and I have determined that the odds would be just fine. So that'll give you a nice easy weekend. And after this video is done, I'll do a little thing on the Edmunds Fitzgerald because it sank almost today. It was in November like this. And in November, big storms come up on Lake Superior. And I've got some math behind how you could stay alive. Nobody survived that Edmunds Fitzgerald. But I'll do that math behind it here in a second.